Ministers have rehearsed for the Queen's death for the first time with a secret exercise to prepare for 10 days of national mourning, it has emerged. The run-through, apparently known as Castle Dub, saw cabinet ministers and Whitehall officials discuss D+1, the day after the monarch's death. Public demand for education has remained strong, reflecting the importance of education as a means of social progress. Aware of the social value of education to the world of the work, the government continues to innovate and update the education system in order to produce a qualified and competent workforce. Environment problems caused by hard rock mining involve water pollution by metals themselves, chemicals used in processing, acid drainage, and sediment. Metals and metal-like elements in the ore are toxic and prone to cause trouble by ending up in nearby streams and water tables as a result of mining operations. Welfare has a special political meaning to the United States because it refers to how the poor receives financial aid. In comparison, welfare services are regarded as a universal right in other regions like Europe, where it is believed that all citizens should be able to obtain a minimal level of social support and well-being. The development of easy-to-use statistics is being taught and learned. Students can make transformations of variables, create graphs of distributions of variables, and select among statistical analyses all at the click of a button. However, even with these advancements, students sometimes still find statistics to be an arduous task. When countries assess their annual carbon dioxide emissions, they count up their cars and power stations, but bushfires are not included, presumably because they are deemed to be events beyond human control. In Australia, Victoria alone sees several 100,000 hectares burn each year. In both 2004 and the present summer, the figure has been over 1 million hectares. Astronomers discovered 7 planets, roughly Earth-sized, orbiting a dwarf star some 380 trillion kilometers from our own. That is 40 light-years away, fairly close and within range of planned big telescopes. Scientists therefore think it offers the best chance yet to discover evidence of life, or why it hasn't evolved, beyond the solar system. A mental illness is a health problem that significantly affects how a person feels, thinks, behaves, and interacts with other people. People who experience mental illnesses and their family and friends suffer a great deal due to these illnesses. According to the World Health Organization, depression will be one of the biggest health problems worldwide by the year 2020. Tesla actually worked for Edison early in his career. Edison offered to pay him the modern equivalent of $1 million to fix the problems he was having with his DC generators and motors. Tesla fixed Edison's machines, and when he asked for the money he was promised, Edison laughed him off and had this to say: "Tesla, you don't understand our American humor."
Such cross-protection is usually seen between two animals.
But Gore studies the same sort of mutualism in microbes. He and his team demonstrated the first experimental example of that cross-protective relationship in drug-resistant microbes, using two strains of antibiotic-resistant E. coli bacteria, one resistant to ampicillin, the other to chloramphenicol. Trade unions originated in Europe during the Industrial Revolution. Because of the machinery that had become commonplace, skilled labor became less in demand, so employers had nearly all of the bargaining power. Employers mistreated the workers and paid them too little for the work they did. Trade unions were organized that would help in the improvement of working condition. Margaret Simons explains the changes taking place in the Australian media. She analyses audiences, our major media organizations, the role of government, and the implications of all of these for our society and our democracy. Her examination leads her to the conclusion that the challenges facing the content providers in the modern world are part of a broader striving. A young man from a small provincial town, a man without independent wealth, without powerful family connections, and without a university education, moved to London in the late 1580s and, in a remarkably short time, became the greatest playwright not of his age alone but of all time.
How was this achievement of magnitude made? How did Shakespeare become Shakespeare? The term supernova was coined in the 1930s by a memorably odd astrophysicist named Fritz Zwicky.
Born in Bulgaria and raised in Switzerland, Zwicky came to the California Institute of Technology in the 1920s and there as once distinguished himself by his abrasive personality and erratic talents. He didn't seem to be outstandingly bright, and many of his colleagues considered him little more than an irritating buffoon. The coevolutionary relationship between cows and grass is one of nature's underappreciated wonders. It also happens to be the key to understanding just about everything about modern meat. For the grasses, which have evolved to withstand the grazing of ruminants, the cow maintains and expands their habitat by preventing trees and shrubs from gaining a foothold and hogging the sunlight. The animal also spreads grass seed, plants it with his hooves, and then fertilizes it with his manure. All cells share some common characteristics that make them living things.
All organisms are composed of cells, the basic fundamental unit of life.
They contain DNA as a heritable genetic material, and they can reproduce. They transcribe DNA into RNA and translate RNA into proteins on ribosomes. They can also regulate transport across a cell membrane and require chemical energy for some cellular processes. On 1815, on the island of Sumbawa in Indonesia, a handsome and long quiescent mountain named Tambora exploded spectacularly, killing 100,000 people with its blast and associated tsunamis. No one living now has ever seen such fury.
Tambora was far bigger than anything any living human has experienced.
It was the biggest volcanic explosion in 10,000 years, 150 times the size of Mount St. Helens, equivalent to 60,000 Hiroshima-sized atom bombs. Solar energy is an excellent source of supplying power to homes and companies, and by utilizing solar power, you're not merely protecting the environment from becoming polluted, but also you are saving the rest of the Earth's natural resources.
Capturing solar energy does not contribute to any pollution and does not harm the atmosphere.
One of the factors why many individuals are still hesitant to make use of solar power is because it is expensive. The need of big location of space is another reason why people aren't taking into consideration solar power.
Tesla came over from Graz and went to work for Thomas Edison. Nonetheless, Edison offered him a job, promising Tesla $50,000 if Tesla could redesign Edison's breakdown-prone DC generator designs. The new generator designs were a vast improvement over Edison's originals. Upon completing the job, Tesla went to Edison to collect the $50,000 promised for the task. Edison replied, "You don't understand our American humor." And Tesla was never paid. These two men became arch rivals. The insults and criticism were not unexpected. What was surprising was people's enthusiasm about the competition. Thousands have participated in the discussion.